So this video tutorial looks at the mathematical strand of real number, and more specifically we're going to focus on our understanding of percentage increase and decrease. So there are a couple of ways that you can calculate percentage increase or decrease, and the first method is a two-step process, which means you have to do two separate steps. And the second method is just a simple one-step process, and we're about to explore what those two processes are. So the first process we're going to look at is our two-step process. So that involves two distinct different steps that we're going to look at. The first part of this is to find the size of the increase or decrease. Okay, so we're looking for the size. Once you've found the size of the increase or decrease, you simply apply it to the original amount. All right, so an example of this would be a 15% increase of 120. So the first part, so part one, is to find the size of the increase or decrease. Now this is an increase, so we want to find 15% of 120. Now we know that's 18. In this particular case, we're looking at dollars, so that's $18. Now the second part of our process is we add or apply the change to the original amount. Now if we adding is an increase. Okay, subtracting is a decrease. In this particular case, we're increasing, so we've got our original amount of 120. We're adding the size of the increase, which in this case is 18. So we know that this is going to give us $138. So therefore we can say 15% increase of 120 is equal to $138. Now we've just seen with the two-step process is that there are part one and part two, so two distinct aspects to that process. The one-step process requires something called a multiplier in order for it to be a one-step process. So a multiplier is essentially a decimal that represents the increase or the decrease. If it's an increase, okay, then whatever our decimal is, it's going to be greater than 100%. If it's if there's an increase, if it's a decrease, then it's actually going to be less than 100%. Now, if we did an increase of 15% like we did last time, that would actually give us a total of 115%, or 1.15 as a decimal. A decrease of 15% would actually lead to 85%, because that's 100 take 15. Okay, decrease is take away, and therefore it'd give us a decimal of 0.85. So obviously just here, if there's an increase we add, if there's a decrease we take away, okay, for all from 100%. So using our one-step process, it says find a 15% increase. We know that we're actually looking for 115% because it's an increase. We've added the 15% to it. So 115% now of 120. We use our multiplier, so this becomes 1.15 because we've turned our percentage into a decimal. Multiplied 120 gives us $138. So you can see that we end up with the same answer, but obviously using the one-step process, we don't have part one and part two anymore. We simply find our multiplier and then we work out our answer. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. Last year Jack weighed 65 kilos. This year he has increased his weight by 7%. What's his new weight? So if we're going to do our two-step, all right, first thing we would find is 7% of 65. Okay, so that becomes 0.07 times 65, and that would give us 4.55. So just to clarify how I work that out, alright, this becomes 0.07 multiplied by 65, okay, which gives me 4.55. And obviously that is kilograms. We then have our original amount, which is 65. We add 4.55 and that gives us a total of 69.55 kilos. So that would be Jack's new weight. In our one-step process, alright, we know it's an increase. So an increase means we add onto 100%, and we know that 7% is what we're trying to add. So we would go 7% plus 100%. So we're actually trying to find 107% of 65. So this becomes 1.07 multiplied by 65, and that's going to give us an answer of 69.55 kilograms. Our second example says in 2013 there were 108 Year 8 students at a school, right? This year that number has decreased by 25%, so we've got a decrease of 25%. How many Year 8 students are there now at the school? So, two-step. First thing we want to do is we want to find 25% of our original amount, which was 108. Now again, this becomes 0.25 multiplied by 108. And this gives us an answer of 27 students. And then we have our original amount, but we're actually going to take away our 25% because we're decreasing, so that means we're taking away. And that's going to give us an answer of 81 students. If we're going to do our one step, we're going to have a decrease of 25%. So we've got to find our multiplier. Now our multiplier, because this is a decrease, it's actually 100%. Take 25%, which gives us 75%. So we're actually just trying to find 75% of 108. This becomes 0.75 times 108, and that's going to give us, whoops, not 2, that's going to give us 81. So therefore we have 81 students. Okay, I'd now like you to have a go at a few practice questions of percentage increase and decrease. Please feel free to pause the video when the questions come up. Have a go at them. When you think you've got the answers, continue the video and we'll see how you went. Okay, so here are the practice questions. Please feel free to pause the video, have a go at them, and like I said, when you think you've got the answer, continue the video and we'll see how you went. Okay, so let's see how you went. With our first question, James is 175 centimeters tall and his sister is 18% taller than him. How tall is his sister? Well, this is going to be an increase of 18%. So if we want to use our two-step, we need to work out what 18% of 175 is. Remember, this is just 0.18 times by 175. Okay, so that's going to give us an increase of 31.5 centimeters. We then add that to our original amount. So our original amount is 175. We're going to add 31.5. And that's going to give us a total of 206.5 centimeters. Remember our one-step process. We just need to find our multiplier. Now, since this is an increase, our multiplier becomes 118%. So we simply need to find 118% of 175. This becomes 1.18 multiplied by 175, which gives us 206.5 centimeters. In our second example, we've got last year I bought a car for $23,000. It's now worth 23% less. So this is a decrease. How much is it worth now? Remember our two-step. Okay, first thing we need to do is work out 23% of the original amount. So this becomes 0.23 multiplied by 23,000. So that's going to be, remember this is in dollars, 5290. Now we just take that from our original amount, so we've got 23,000 minus 5,290, and that's going to give us, the car is now worth $17,710. Remember our one-step process. Okay, our multiplier. Now we know this is a decrease, so it was 23% less, so that's actually 100% minus 23%, and that actually gives us 77%. So we're essentially trying to find 77% of 23,000. Remember, this just becomes 0.77 multiplied by 23,000. Put that into our calculator, but we know straight away, because we've already got the answer, it's going to be $17,710.